It has been said that average people want you to stay average. Welcome to the Breaking Average podcast, the podcast designed to challenge you to break the mold that average has on the world. Each episode offers insights directly from those who choose to break average every day. Now, for the latest insights, here are your hosts, Paul Gustafson and Rick Morris.
Welcome to the Breaking Average podcast. Hey, I'm Paul Gustafson, and I've got my co-host, Rick Morris. Rick, fantastic to be with you today, man. How are you?
What's happening, Paul? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. I love this time of year, right? April, now we're May, we got June. This is just like a magical time of year for me. I don't know about for you, but I love it. How about you?
Yeah, kids are wrapping up with school. I think, as we're recording this, my daughter's on a cruise having fun. She's done with finals in her junior year, I guess, of college, or sophomore to junior year, somewhere around there. And then my son is 2 weeks away from completing his freshman year. So he's got, that itch that they're getting close to being out of school and getting ready to have summer break, all of those fun things.
Yep. And we just love everybody out there who's watching this, who's listening or watching this podcast. We appreciate you guys. We know that you've got a big summer plan, and we've got some summer things happening as well. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. But Rick, I love the topic that we've got kind of lined up today. We've been on this how-to series. I'm not sure what number this is. I think it's 14, is it? Are we at number 14?
Episode 14.
Episode 14. And we're going to ask you guys to go back, listen to some of the cool stuff, and we'll talk about where we're going next. But this how-to series, what I want to talk about today, Rick, is how to stand out from the crowd. How do you really stand out? I mean, it's a crowded world out there, but how do you stand out? And this, I think, takes us to a new level that we maybe haven't hit yet so far this season. So I want to just kind of dive into that. What do you think? Cool topic.
No, I think it's fantastic. It's a great topic. And I think we'll be able to share some experiences that I've seen kind of in the music business, seen some experiences, my personal business. But yeah, some really, really cool stuff happening in terms of how do you stand out? Like, what's next? And am I too late for this fad, or am I too late to jump on here? Those types of things. It's really interesting to see.
Yep. All right. So let's dive in. What's really cool about this whole how-to series is Rick and I, it's like I mentioned this last time, it's like we're having a cup of coffee and we're just engaging in this. And we haven't scripted any of this. We've just talked about the high level points that we want to make. And that's the title. You just heard it, how to stand out in the crowd. So Rick, when you think about standing out, what does that mean to you?
It's doing something different. I think it's really not only, I don't want to say different just for the sake of being different, but how about this being authentically different, doing something in such a way that is authentic to that person, but really starts to grow or build. I just mentioned the music industry, but if you think about like in the early days of YouTube and YouTube streaming, the people that really understood that YouTube was going to be better than just for videos, but there's actually going to be content. There was a young man by the name of Shawn Mendes who was very unknown and just started to do covers on YouTube. Justin Bieber was discovered by doing cover songs on YouTube. So in the early days of YouTube, that's where artists were going to stand out from the crowd. And what would happen is somebody would see something that was really cool and different. They'd share that with their friends. And now you got 15 people looking at it. Then it was 30. And then, it became an exponential growth. And if somebody was doing something really authentically different, then their subscribers and their growth would go out of control. Yeah. That has shifted now to TikTok. So on TikTok, I see artists, but just this last week, as I was reviewing some of the people that I've followed, that I've seen that was like, oh, I really like them, or something that they've done. So I just saw this one lady, I think she goes by Caitlin Rabs. She answered an open verse challenge. So that's this huge new craze that's happening on TikTok. which is where these artists will sing like a verse and then they'll just let the music play and they invite other people to sing a verse or to get on the record. And the best one that kind of comes in, they invite to collaborate. So it's like a way to audition collaborators now through this duet feature of TikTok. So this one lady killed it. As a matter of fact, that's what I saw of her first. And that's why I chose to follow her. Now it's literally months later, I've heard that song on the radio. She was invited by that artist to actually, do a live show for 9,000 people in Seattle. And then she just got signed to that artist label. So she went from just sitting in her room and seeing this thing and writing a verse and just producing that on TikTok, however long that took. I don't want to undermine that, but a couple hours a day, who knows, right? But she went in there, killed that verse and did that. And now that's leveraged into a recording career. So of course, now what's happening is everybody's doing these duet challenges. And so that's not authentically different. Does that make sense? It's like now that's been done and people are getting discovered this way. So now everybody's rushing that and is overcrowding the field. So something new is going to come along and somebody's going to be able to pick up on that. I'll pause there. But that's what I think about, like kind of standing out is like doing something authentically different that takes notice. Not necessarily something that everybody else has done before. But again, how many times can you be singing in a blues cafe? You know what I mean? Like how else do you get discovered, but get yourself out there?
Yeah. Here's, and to me, part of this, Rick, is understanding the why. Why in the world would you want to stand out? Here's the reality. We've got introverts, we have extroverts, and we have some folks in between, which I feel like I am an ambivert, right? Somebody who's adjusted. One time I was full out introvert, and then I realized, wow, there's kind of cool connecting with other people, and I learned to adjust, and I love it. I love that element. And some people think I'm an extrovert. I don't think I am, but I'm an ambivert. But here's the point. Why stand out? Listen, you have value to add. If you're listening to this show, if you're watching this, there's no doubt you have strengths, you have passions, you have value to add. And if you don't put yourself in a position to be able to support and serve in that manner, then the world is missing out on what you can offer. The world is missing out on the value that you can add. And so part of the standing out, I mean, there's some cool things that are happening. Rick shared some really cool novel, more popular things that are happening now. There's going to be, as by the time we're done with this conversation, guys, we're going to probably identify half a dozen or more different ways that you can stand out in the crowd. And you need to stand out. I need to stand out. Rick needs to stand out. Why? Because we have something to offer. We're put on this great green earth for a reason, to make an impact in the lives of other people. And we've just got to figure out what our why is, what our passions are, what our strengths are, and be okay with sharing that and reaching out, letting people know who we are. So I wanted to make sure we hit that why, Rick, and that I just scratched the surface, man. But do you want to speak into that part, why it's so important maybe to stand out?
Well, yeah, it's not only important to stand out, but why should you even try? We've given this counsel a lot. I actually want to tie these two ideas together. A lot of people will say, well, I don't want to go speak because it's already been said before. I don't want to write a book because it's already been said before. And we've said, but it hasn't been said by you to your audience. But that's that same thing is if we think about the music aspect, it's like, well, then why do another song? Because every love song has seemingly been written, right? And there's, millions and millions and millions of songs. So it's been said before in a love song before, in a pop song before, in a country song before, but not by you, the way you say it, and to an audience that wants to hear it. So that the first thing I think is getting past the fear of, well, it's been said before or nobody else is, like, how else do I stand out? I think we have to be clear too that the key word there was authentically different, right? So we're not going to go be different or do something like, I'm not going to go duet a verse on TikTok trying to get discovered because that's not authentic to me. I'm not a singer. Right. Yeah. So it's like that. We have to find something that's authentic to us. And I think that comes back to what you're saying is that purpose and that why is it's also got to be congruent with what it is that we're trying to say.
Yeah. I came across this definition from Alan Dibb who wrote a book. It's called The One-Page Marketing Plan. And I love his definition of marketing. And Seth Godin is another person that I like to follow. And it really kind of breaks the status quo of marketing. Most people think marketing is promoting, selling, trying to, put the brand out of it. But the way that Alan Dibb shares this, he says that marketing is the strategy. It's a strategy you use for getting your ideal target market to know you, like you, and trust you enough to become a consumer, a customer. And he says all the stuff you usually associate with marketing are tactics. And so we're not going to necessarily, you'll probably hear a little bit of tactics, but that's not the intent of our conversation today. I believe that, again, as I mentioned earlier, you have value to add. And maybe it's important for people to understand who you are so that they can know you, they can like you, and they can trust you. And I think that's what stands out for me, Rick. And when you talked about some of the TikTok things and the people that are really standing out, these are people that are authentic. They're being vulnerable. And I know it's a little scary, but as Mark Twain says, if you want the fruit, you got to go out on the limb to go get it. And sometimes we got to be vulnerable. We got to do, listen to Brene Brown's TED Talk a few times and just say, you know what, I need to share this. I need to do this. And one of the most powerful things we can do, guys, it's your story. We've talked about this before in some of our in our how-to series on how to be an effective speaker. But it's your story. What is your story? And this isn't necessarily about speaking per se, but realize if you watch America's Got Talent, if you watch American Idol, you can watch any of these interesting reality shows. Yes, they're talented singers. They're talented artists that are out there. But you know why they stand out? It's their story. They're sharing, there's something about their journey. They've gone through maybe some hardships, some challenges, some difficulty, and maybe you have too. And when we go through those challenges and difficulties, somehow, and this is what's really cool. Somehow we can take those challenges and flip them into opportunities. Einstein says, in the midst of challenges lies opportunity. And so maybe we can turn that mess into a message and really affect change and make an impact in the lives of other people. And maybe that story that you have is, and again, that's just kind of leading the witness here. I'm leading you, Rick. Maybe that story that we have is part of how we stand out in the crowd. So thoughts on that?
True story. Know some very dear friends, extremely talented musicians, very, very good. Just never really gotten the exposure, never really don't want to do any of the tactics that are necessary. They go on America's Got Talent. Producers fall in love with them and are interviewing them and trying to get them to be a feature. They really feel that this group has got a shot to win it, and they are that talented, Paul. They didn't have a single story that they could pull on to grab the sympathy side of it. All of them have great families, great upbringings. There was no car accidents, no death of a grandma. Like there's nothing. And so they ended up not even getting on the show.
Oh no.
Because there was no story behind it. So but that's the truth of the reality television side of it, is that like you want to hear, unfortunately, you want to hear like this person overcame this massive cancer scare, they got a lung donated to them or something of that sort. And then you hear them sing and that connects you to that. Oh yeah, they're so good. Like there's one I know that I got moved on tears. There was a girl who's deaf, feels the vibrations of the music, but her voice is flawless and on pitch. That one, like I remember seeing her, just blew me away. But it's the story that connects it. That's how important the story side of it is. Because here's somebody who's extremely talented, but they're just not going to get the break because they didn't come through any kind of hardship. I can find that sad, but at the same time, that's how important this story is in understanding.
Yeah. And I think there's something being said here, guys, we want you to capture. You don't have to have the perfect marketing strategy, the perfect everything, right? In fact, that's going to hurt you. Your perfection of what you're trying to put out there may actually be off-putting to some. maybe what they need to hear is like, hey, look, I've gone through some challenges. I had to face this, but I found a way. And I want to share with you some of the things that I did to be able to do it. I want to help you. I'm an executive coach and leader, and I help businesses and individuals like you overcome the challenges that they face to be able to make an impact in the lives of others. You know, and you tell the story when they hear the story of what you've gone through, and we've all gone through it. We're all human. The human story is so important because people need to realize, I'm not alone. Somebody's been through it. They can empathize with me. I can empathize with them because I know exactly how that must have felt for them to go through that. And I think it's such an important element to it. The more I study this, Rick, the more I see it. It's truly, truly about our journey, our story. We don't see it, the hero's journey, right? You've heard of that, Joseph Campbell. And I love that metaphor. I see it more and more. And I see it in marketing now, which is really cool. And the really great stories of marketing, and it's not necessarily tactic, it's being honest and genuine. You see this person who is the reluctant hero. They didn't see themselves as all that special. They struggled. Maybe they had self-doubt. Maybe they just didn't think they could, they wouldn't, they can't. And they move forward despite all the challenges they have, and they just press on. They persevere. And because they persevere, they finally, it's kind of like the Pixar pitch, right? Until one day, right? Something happens, and they make an impact in the lives of others, and then the story. Now you've got a story to share, and they become that hero, and they still may be a reluctant hero, but they realize the value that they're adding. And what's really cool is it's not just the heroes. There's guides out there too, and we can celebrate them as well. And I don't know. I don't want to get too much into the tactics, but I just think it's so important. Here's a thought that I'll throw out there. You're familiar with TEDx?
Oh yeah.
Right. Right. Here's the common denominator for the best TED Talks. And it's in their slogan, ideas worth sharing, right? TEDx. So if you have an idea worth sharing, an idea that's not status quo, that's allows you to think a little different. We just had Dan Pink a couple weeks back, and he had an idea worth sharing about the power of regrets. Like who would have thought that regrets was something powerful that could really help us and propel us forward? And he shared a really interesting, phenomenal thought. I think the same thing is true for all of us. What is that one idea worth sharing that you have that may stand out a little different than everybody else? And that's okay. That's okay. So again, back to the America's Got Talent, American Idol. You see the story. You see Lionel Richie, for example. If you're watching, some of you guys may not get into American Idol. You don't need to. But here's an example. American Idol, one of the judges, Lionel Richie, and he's listening for the singer early on who can sing the story, who can tell the story, who's a storyteller. And maybe that's the way you stand out in a crowd, is you be a storyteller. Not that you're singing or playing guitar or anything like that, but that you're telling a story. And maybe the story that you're telling isn't just your story, but it's your story that allows other people to see themselves in it too. Like, oh yeah, I want that. I want to experience. I know what that challenge was like. I can get there. So, and I'll kind of leave it there, because now what I want to do is just like pull on different examples of stories. But again, we're just doing this. We're having fun. Rick and I, we're just sharing some of these thoughts and ideas of how to stand out in the marketplace.
Let's talk about that though.
Yeah.
TEDx, for instance.
Yeah.
So if what happens is we stop trying to share ideas and we start to chase the tactic that we think is going to win. TEDx is a great example. TEDx has gone from wow, I'd really love to be able to do a TEDx talk to impact people, to how do I get on a TEDx stage? And so now there's all of these businesses and stuff that's saying, oh, we can teach you how to do a TEDx talk or get ready for a TEDx talk. And so now we've taken the focus off of actually delivering a great content to delivering a business that just turns out mediocre. Right. It just turns out people that really don't have ideas worth sharing, but we're going to take their money anyway, and we're going to teach them stuff. There's a lot of that that's going on, in this industry. If you look at marketing for that matter, there was a service I remember getting pushed. It was called Amplifier or something like that. It sounded really good, but one of the things they were talking about was, you need 70 pieces of content, or we can deliver 80 pieces of content off of a single blog post or something of that sort. And I was like, well, that's interesting. Let's see what they do with that. And all they do is just chop it up and put it into like multiple different formats. But if you ever came across that content on the internet, it wouldn't really be meaningful. It's not really well written. It's not really a story. It's just out there so they can get scrubbed to show that there's links, so that you can have backlinks, so that you can go up these marketing chains, which is a tactic. So now I'm putting something out there that's not really meaningful. Yeah. It's something that's going out there just to satisfy some numbers, and for an organization to be able to tell you, if you do this, you'll be successful. So it's these cookie cutter tactic things. There's another one. I won't say the name, but some of our people that are listening to this have probably gotten pitched this system that says, all you need to do is just click this button and we'll run your entire marketing campaign. Well, actually, you know what? I'm going to dovetail that onto something talking about 1997, 1998, somewhere around there, Paul. I got pitched to do this business, and it sounded good. It was called the Internet Treasure Chest. Mm-hmm. And it was a way to sell wholesale goods on your own website on the web, which this is prior. I mean, eBay really hasn't even kicked off yet. I mean, This is early. Except that it was the same 50 products, and they sold 6,000 of those. So you got 5,000 other people who are pushing the exact same products in the exact same way with the exact same marketing. Yep. And so you just became a distribution channel. There was no way to stand out. That wasn't a really business. And of course that failed, something I learned along the way. But you start to look at that. If somebody says, just press a button and we'll do everything for you, you got to think beyond just you, that they've sold that. And there's other people that are doing that, which means now you're not standing out at all.
No, how do you stand out when everybody's using the same cookie cutter script? And I get it. It helps you understand maybe how to write copy and all that. But if you're using the same template, maybe you're not standing out.
Well, even our friend, Russell Brunson is, and look, the product he has.
These are great people. These are great people, by the way.
Yeah, great person, great product, and has a great way to get you started, which is what I think it is truly intended. I really think, in the heart of hearts, when they came up with funnel scripts, was a way to truly add value to the market. What it became was everybody using the exact same script in the exact same way, just inserting something. So it was a really good way, I think, was a prompt. I think it was really intended to be a prompt where you go in, you fill out some things, it spits out a script, a prompt. Hey, this is a good framework. Now take it and go make it authentically yours. That's that lazy step that people aren't taking. So I can tell you, Facebook, within about 3 seconds of a video, what portion of funnel scripts that came off of.
Yeah, we see it, right? We see these patterns. They're reoccurring patterns. The question is can you create your own pattern? How do you disrupt the patterns of ordinary and status quo and really, and that's what we try to do. I don't know, maybe we got some cookie cutter stuff that we do in our podcast. We try not to. Like Rick and I are being intentional about not over scripting the discussion points. We want to be authentic with you guys, and we appreciate it. We value every one of you. We don't want to fall trap into just following the crowd, right? So either you're a leader or you're a follower. And if you want to lead, but you're following everybody else's marketing tactics, then how are you leading?
Yeah.
Just saying, how are you leading? What are you doing to stand out? I love this other concept. We can get to it. It's almost a little different, but I'll just bring it out, put it on the table. What do we got? Red ocean versus blue ocean.
Oh, I love that topic. I love that topic.
Yep. So if I'm living in a red ocean, and you know what it is, right? So for the rest of our listeners, a red ocean is that marketplace where, there's a lot of competition, a lot of people doing the same thing. Let's say you're a coach, a lot of coaches, maybe all coaches on the same team, actually.
Yeah.
But you're coaching and you want to add value, every one of you, and you like each other. That's fine, but you're still competing in the same environment. Well, that's a red ocean. There's a blood in the water. There's some little competition going on. Well, blue ocean, not all blue oceans are great, by the way, I should say. But a blue ocean is that space where, wait a minute, there's nobody else. You're the only guy in town or gal in town doing what you're doing. You're standing out. You're differentiating. Differentiation is doing something else that nobody else is doing. What are you doing to differentiate? The question is, it's not just what are you doing to differentiate? What are you doing? What do you offer that adds value to others that people need, want, and will use? And so that gets into the true blue ocean of where we want to go. And that helps us stand out in the marketplace. But yeah, I want to get your take. Blue ocean, red ocean, your thoughts on that.
Yeah, but I love first of all, I love that with the whole, again, you've got blood in the water. Everybody's sniping. The only way to really stand out is lowering prices or undercutting your competition, those types of things. When you start talking about blue ocean, just a few examples, like, when iTunes came out, that was blue ocean.
Blue ocean.
There was nothing else at the time. Now there's competitors, right? But when they first came out, it was truly, a blue ocean. When you start, Cirque du Soleil is another really good example of doing things a little bit different and being different than anything else that has come before them. So it's still a show, it's still a theater, but we're going to do something, slightly different. It's not quite a circus. It's not quite a performance, right? It's its own brand, but a lot of people then started to try to copy that. Those are blue ocean kind of tactics. When I shared in How to Be Remarkable, just pricing strategy was the way that we were being blue ocean at R Squared was how we approached our sales cycle, in the sense that the people doing the selling were the people that were doing the delivering, so that we were learning all of the things we need to learn by the company in pre-sales, thereby adding value to the organization for the time well spent, right? That was a different type of strategy, whereas people are like, oh, no, you're leaving money on the table. You want to transition, and then they have to pay for that transition. I was able to sell against that point. That was one of the types of blue ocean thinking that we thought we were bringing to the table in doing so. Landed us a lot of contracts, that one little twist of that investigative piece. So I love the idea. So it's the same thing at looking at, if everybody's telling you to do the same thing, how do you stand out? And so I had to make that decision. And listen, we all fall in the traps. Yeah. Don't we, Paul? Like I fell in. I had, social media person. I had daily things that I was firing out on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all those things to try to bump up my speaking career and get the book sold and all the other stuff. And I realized there's just so much stuff. In order for me to sit down and put that level of content out, Paul, I had to borrow. I had to repeat. I had to say things I've said before in different ways. I mean, there's just so much content to put out there. And of course, the strategy will tell you that they have to see something 9 to 13 times before they buy. So they say, put more content out, post 4 times a day and all those different things. That's great if that's who you are and that's what you're doing, but it's still got to be valuable. Otherwise, it just becomes noise. And if you've got 10,000 people pushing out 5 pieces of content to the same buyer that you're trying to go after, then how do you clear through that noise? And that's the question that we have to answer.
Here's what's interesting is somebody who's a pioneer and they've got the blue ocean, IBM, PC, right?
Yeah.
They front runners. I know there's Apple. So we got Apple and IBM. There's nobody else. Well, wait a minute. They opened the door. They created their own little red ocean, by the way. And they said, yeah, okay, we'll allow clones to happen, PC clones. And it was a kind of a smart tactic, right? Because their only competition was Apple. And they thought, well, wait a minute, we'll allow other manufacturers of the computer to happen. It didn't play out the way they wanted to. Apple actually, it almost strangled Apple because they couldn't compete in that. There was no really true bona fide Hackintosh out there that you could go get. But Apple found a way to find a way to create that blue ocean and stay in that blue ocean and really open up a whole new space that IBM, I mean, IBM was now on the outside. They weren't an inside guy anymore. And so they struggled. But Apple, despite the fact that they went through a hardship and some challenges, they find a way to get through. They come out with really some breakthrough products that stand out in the marketplace. And here's what's interesting. I know you would say, well, Apple's got the best commercials. Not really. They're good commercials. I'm not going to lie. They're good. Especially when they had PC versus Mac, right?
Oh, yeah.
That was great. That was classic. But that's not why they stood out. They stood out because of testimonies of other people referring like, hey, yeah, you got to check it out. It's cool. It's awesome. It's good. I came across this recently, right? We're in this, think about our society. We're all into social media and advertising and all that. And somebody old school last week when I was out in Colorado said, the best marketing, the way to stand out in the marketplace is just to be better than everybody else.
Yeah.
Just be better. Because when you're better, when you're really good, not best is a fallacy, because as soon as you think you're the best, then you stop trying to get better. But when you see yourself like, oh, wait a minute, I can always get better. And when you are one of the better ones out there, here's what happens. You get constant referrals. You get other people saying, oh yeah, you should go check that out. Go do this, go do that. And it was funny, following right on that kind of discussion, my wife said something to me. She says, what's the point if you're constantly advertising and marketing and trying to promote and push and sell when you yourself, if you're a solopreneur, and there's a lot of folks who are on this call or watching this podcast who are solopreneurs, let's be honest. There's a lot of folks who have small businesses, really small. Look, the truth of it is that we have a finite amount of us, you and me. There's a finite number. There's no way that we could have the capacity to do everything that if we could sell every service. I mean, if everybody was willing to buy our service, we couldn't keep up. We wouldn't be able to do it. And I thought about that. I'm like, yeah, it's not about the selling. It's about being better. It's about standing out. It's about doing and being willing to say no to some things, because you can't say yes to everything. Those who really stand out actually are the ones who are able to say no to a lot of different things, because otherwise, Rick, it's whack-a-mole. It's like, yeah, I'm going to go after that. Nope, I'm going to go after that. And the whack-a-mole folks, and I've been there, guilty's charged. The whack-a-mole crowd will buy all the different offerings that are out there to help you get better, to stand out, to do everything, because we think, okay, well, I'm just going to apply that. No, just get good at what you do. Stay passionate about what you love. Really make an impact, add value in the area that you're good at. Allow others to refer you, and say yes to what really matters, and say no to things that just aren't in alignment with your values. What are your values? Think through that. So those are some of my thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's interesting. We have to also continue to evolve. So just because we have a better idea doesn't mean it stays better.
That's right.
So if we keep on the PC example, and first of all, it used to be IBM PC compatible. If you remember, that's the way you would sell things. Now it's just PC. Right. But back in the day, it was, so when HP came out and Compaq came out, and those kind of the Compaq's not even around anymore. But Toshiba, they had them. At the same time, this new, group called Dell came in, and what Dell was going to do was build on demand, which means, but back in the day, those IBMs, they'd mass produce them. same memory, same chip, same thing, that you got limited. Here's what you got. This is what you get. And as the new things came out, you just had to sell the old inventory off first.
Yep.
Dell was doing it a different way, building to order. It was still, they were like, why do I need to wait 7 days? I can go down to Best Buy today and pick up a can. Well, because I can get exactly what I want. And they started to just kill the market until everybody else started to see, hey, wait a minute, they can sell for cheaper because they're not storing all these parts. So therefore we could start to build to order. And so that better idea just became the idea.
Yeah.
Now everybody's kind of building to order. So you have to stay on top of it as well.
Yeah, it's really fascinating to see that, right? So you become the standout in that arena, but then you see others who kind of catch up to you. And if you haven't continued to progress and move forward and persevere, just keep moving forward, then you're going to get stuck. You're going to become the IBM, right? And you don't want that.
It's like software these days, though. I was actually describing this to someone yesterday. If you have legacy systems, so I know the PPM space, really well. So if you look at like a Primavera or CA, which is now owned by Broadcom, but these systems have been around 15, 20, 25 years. They have that 25 years of baggage to come with them and customers that are on that. So if you want to do something new, you've got to make it compatible to 25 years of stuff, right? Or you're locked into certain strategies. Whereas if I want to start a brand new tool right now and take advantage of the latest technologies, I can, because I don't have all that baggage. So the new becomes better until the old can kind of catch up. But a lot of times it's learning how to let go of a lot of that baggage.
Yeah. One of the things, I've got a book that I've been working on for a while, as you know, and it's called Imagine. And, one of the great Imagineers of our day is Walt Disney. Of course, some people think he coined the term Imagineer. He's got a whole part of his company of Imagineers, and he certainly uses that word. I don't think he coined it, but he'll describe an Imagineer as someone who has the ability to implement creative ideas into practical form. And I say that that's something we should all aspire to be. We should all aspire to be Imagineers, no matter where we're at. We all have something to add, some value to add. And here's what I discovered, Rick, in my work on this book, is there's 3 types of Imagineers. There's 3 types. There's the dreamer. The dreamer, somebody comes up with an idea. It's cool. It's all, it's a great idea, but they don't do a lot with it. What you need, and it's not that dreamers are bad. Dreamers are great. You need to have dreamers. But there's another type of Imagineer that needs to step into the game. And it could be the same person, but maybe it's somebody else. And that's a designer. You need an Imagineer that takes that idea and flushes it out, right? So they'll take the dreamer's idea, who formulated a brand new concept, something new, something novel, but that wasn't enough. The designer will take that idea, figure out how to make it work, a way to make it work. And they're strategists. And I'm telling you guys, of the 3, I'm going to talk about the third one in a second. Of the 3, I think the shortfall are in the designers. If you can get really, really good at designers, that's why Apple has stood out. They're better designers than the rest. When you're a designer, you're always finding ways to get better. All right. But the designer, they come up with a plan of how it can be offered to those who can build and create it. That gets us to that 3rd type of Imagineer, and that's a creator. And the creators help execute the patterns. It's been designed out now. How do they bring it to life? How do they bring it to life? And I think that's the magic of Steve Jobs and what he was able to do, especially Steve Jobs 2.0. He was a dreamer, but he knew he needed others to come in, the Johnny Ives and others, to come in and help design and create. And if you can get others around you, if you want to stand out in the marketplace, find out which type of you are as far as an Imagineer type, but then find others who can come in and support you. Like Rick and I look at this, I see I'm a dreamer. There's no doubt about it. And I can design a little bit, but Rick's really good about designing too. Really good. So he'll help kind of lay some stuff out, and then we'll find others to help create. Now he's actually helping create. He's doing the production, but we're also using some other mechanisms out there to put it out there. So, and by and large, though, it's taking all 3 Imagineer types, for us to be able to accomplish and support this. We have the whole group, for example, we're syndicated on the Empowered Living show, and we've got some folks there who are in the creation space and be able to push that out. So if we can find these kind of people in our lives and surround ourselves with that, then together, and I think this is where the power is. It's not just in the one, it's in the many, it's in the group. Together we can stand out in that marketplace. We can add that value and still be totally authentic to who we are.
That's a great point there. And in fact, I think it's time to start hitting tip and challenge, partner.
I know, man. This has been good. We can keep talking about this if we had more time, but we do need to kind of close the book on this discussion. First of all, Rick, I want to invite everybody to go visit our website, breakingaverage.com, and let us know. Give us some thoughts on this. I think this is a powerful discussion. It's not just that we want to stand out. Rick and I want to stand out in the marketplace with podcasts. I mean, a lot of people are doing podcasts, but nobody's doing the Breaking Average podcast the way that I see it, right? So we're standing out because we think I think all of us are called to break average. And that's going to be my tip and challenge today is, guys, you've heard me and Rick and others who've been a part of the show share how important it is to break average. I'm asking you, almost begging you, I'm pleading with you. Hey guys, take it seriously. Break some average. Go out there. Don't just fall for the status quo. It's too easy. I've done it myself. But no, stretch yourself. Find ways that you can get better. Find ways that you can offer that service that care. I think it's all about showing care. We're all in the hope business, guys. Here's the secret that I think might help you. We're all in the hope business. If you can share a message of hope for others and be able to support that, help them in that quest for hope, that perseverance for hope, man, you're going to stand out. You're going to make a difference. It works across all industries, from the home builder that builds your house, who's offering something of hope, to the medical professional who's down the street, who wants to make a difference in the lives of others, to the engineer who's trying to build a better mousetrap and make a big difference. It fits all of us, to the coach who wants to help somebody else. It's about offering hope. We're all in the hope business. How about you, Rick? What's your tip and challenge?
Yeah, I'll be a little bit more tactical. If everybody else is doing it, find out why you want to, is really kind of the tip. The challenge is if most of the time everybody's doing it because that works. Yeah. But then is it working because everybody's doing it, or is it working because there's something within it that is actually working? Meaning, well, I need to have an email list and I need to send out newsletters every week. Okay, that's working. Why? Well, it's to warm up the customer. Perfect. So how are you warming them up? What value are you giving them? Why would your email stand out? And there's some of these that are tactics. They work, but they're effective and they catch my eye, but then I'm angry that it did, if that makes sense. Meaning, like, it'll be something like, hey, read this immediately. It'll be something on the subject line that is going to make it stand out from the other emails. But when I open it, it's just another sales thing. Yeah. And that frustrates me. And that's probably the thing that'll make me unsubscribe faster than anything else. But the point being is, well, everybody's doing it, so I got to stand out. So now I've got to use this tactic. And then you're starting to use a tactic on top of a tactic on top of a tactic, and you're losing your authenticity. So what I really want you to focus on is, why would we, if you're going to send out a newsletter, right? Why? Well, that I'm told if I don't do a newsletter every week, I'm not going to get sales. People aren't going to know me. Okay. That's not the reason to do it. Yep. Right. Find out the real reason to do it is, I want to be able to continue to get my message across and help somebody, even if they don't buy from me. Okay. Now we're getting somewhere, right? And start to drive into, why are we actually going to perform this tactic that takes our time to do? If it's just because that's what I was told will work, then you don't know the why of it, and I wouldn't do it. That would be my challenge, partner.
No, I think that's straight on, man. That's solid. As you shared that, I remember Dan Pink in his book, To Sell Is Human. And he says, the new ABCs of selling isn't always be closing. And I want the world to hear that, because Rick, you just reminded me that 90% of the stuff that that's out there and email lists with the FOMO subject headlines and everything, the YouTube, the first little advertisement that clicks on before you watch the real YouTube content that you really want to watch. They're just trying to close, and it turns me off.
Yeah.
I don't need you to sell me something. I need you to serve. I need you to tell me something that gives me hope, that gives me encouragement, that allows me to add value to other people, because you're adding value to me. And that's where I think the new ABCs that Dan talked about 8 years ago when he wrote that book: attunement, buoyancy, clarity. Attunement is to connect, get on the same level playing field, share your story, be real, be authentic, let that story. I mean, it's what works on, people figured it out way back on the ABC Wide World, what was it? ABC Wide World of Sports, The Agony of Defeat. You remember that? The great element. Yeah. What was cool about those shows is that they would do these up close and personals on some of the athletes, and they tell the story. And then that's what really got you involved and connected to that athlete. And it's the same today. We can do the same thing. You and I, we can stand out. We can stand out in the marketplace. And that's about that attunement. It's a buoyancy, being able to flex with that, be agile in that area, and then being clear on what it is that you're offering and not trying to hide it behind something else. So, man, this is good. I'll let you kind of wrap us up, man, but I've really enjoyed our discussion today, and I hope everybody else has enjoyed it. So Rick, always enjoyed the time that we spend together, man.
I enjoy you, partner. So let's have everybody find us on social media. You can find us on Facebook, on Twitter, and as well as see us on the Empowered Living Show, or catch our episodes on YouTube if you're not part of the Empowered Living community. Or, of course, listen to our podcast anywhere our podcasts are delivered. So we appreciate you. We invite you to break average right along with us, and we hope we'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Breaking Average podcast. If you loved what you heard, please take a moment to subscribe. All opinions and comments expressed in this podcast are those of the participants and do not reflect the opinions or views of any of the advertisers, producers, or platforms. This show was produced by R2 Multimedia. A special thank you to Milestone Melodies for our theme music. As you continue your day, what is one action that you can apply from this podcast to your life? Tune in for our next episode as we continue to challenge everyone to break average.